Hey ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to your next cast. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about the Keitech Easy Shiner. Here's exactly what it looks like. And you've heard me mention this lure a bunch. I fish with it all the time, especially when I'm fishing here at Hunting Run, but I also fish with it in Lake of the Woods, and it's done really well there. It's a very versatile lure, and I'm going to show you today a few different ways that I rig it for the best results. So here we go. So the first way that I rig it is what's called a Texas rigged way. And most of the time I fish it weightless, but obviously you can put a weight on there if you want to or if the conditions call for it. But that's what it looks like when it's done. And I'm gonna show you real quick exactly how I do it. So first you have your Keitech Easy Shiner. This darker part is the top. You'll know it's the top because it actually has a slit here in the top, but then again there's a longer slit here on the bottom, so you can slide that hook in there. But typically you want your tail going down like this. That's the way the bait should sit in the water. And you want your hook to be on the bait like that. Okay, so this white part's the bottom. And you just take your hook. I always use an EWG, which is an extra wide gap hook. This just happens to be a 2/0, but there's times where I'll use a 3 as well. But typically I stay between a 2/0 and a 3/0 wide gap hook. But there we go. We're gonna hold it just like that. So the bottom is gonna be facing the hook, and I have the hook facing the lure. And I'm gonna just go in about to where the barb is. If you don't know where that is, there's this little barb here on the hook. I'm gonna go in about that far, and then I'm gonna come out of the bait. I'm gonna bring the bait around the bend of the lure and then turn it down, let it fall down just like that. And then you pull this up over this keeper piece. And now what you want to do is make it as straight as possible. What I found is if it bunches up, I don't think you're going to get the best result. So what I typically try to do is line it up exactly where I want it to go. So if you see that right there, I want it to go about right here. That's where I want the hook to come through. So what I'll actually do is then, or on this side, right there, either way, then I'll hold this part, and then I will push the hook through the middle of the bait. Now remember what I was telling you, there's a little slit in the top of this bait, almost like the Yum Dinger has as well, and you just slide it right into there. So if you can see this, there's an actual hook. You can kind of see it there coming out, that's in there. And what happens is you push that down in there and it sits straight just like that. So what happens is when I throw this up into grass and pull it through, it doesn't get caught up. When I throw it, especially here in Hunting Run or wherever you might fish that has a lot of sticks and stuff like that, it'll come straight through that without getting hung up. And this is how I actually throw it, just like that. So that's probably my most effective technique, especially right now during the summertime. This is probably one of the best techniques to use. Now the second technique in which I use this is hooked like a Ned rig or a jig head. Any type of jig head will do. I typically use a Z-Man Finesse Ned rig jig head, and I usually use a 1/5 or a 1/10 ounce. And I kind of do it, you know, the same way because you want the bait, and this is just a different color one. The other one I had was a gold flash. This is a bluegill flash. Those are probably the two I use the most. So you want this to sit on top of the lure like that. Right there. Here's our jig head, here's the lure. You want it to sit like that. So in this instance, I turn it around and put the top of the bait toward the actual hook. So not like this, like we had it with the Texas rig. I actually put the top of the lure toward the actual hook. I hold the hook like that. I come through and I kind of gauge, I kind of judge about where it's gonna need to be, where it's gonna need to come out. So I'm gonna judge about right there is about where it needs to come out. So I hold it like this. I put this guy in there and I just go right in between that middle slit part that's in the top and bring it through. And that's what I have right there. There's your finished product. And again, the straighter you can keep the bait, the better. And what I do with this technique is just kind of jig it up and down. I typically won't throw this up into grass that's on the bank. I will jig it up and down on grass that's in like 8 or 10 feet of water, just because I'm popping it in and out of the grass. that's okay. It's still gonna get caught up, but sometimes you want it to catch, because when you pop it out and it flies out and shoots out, sometimes that's when fish will actually attack it. So there's a lot of videos I have of me fishing here, fishing with this exact technique and landing some pretty nice bass. Now, another technique that I will use, and I don't use this often, but I have used it a couple times and it is effective. And that's almost like a drop shot. So what I will actually do is just hook this through the nose like this and come straight out. So you're holding it like that, just like you would for a drop shot. And then what I do is just fish it, just like that. I throw it, just like that. Usually I do this if I've eaten up the front part of the lure, like I have on this one, because if you Texas rig it, or if you rig it the other way I just showed you, you're gonna eat up that lure a lot. And so what I'll often do is use these old ones so I don't have to throw them away and fish it like this. And it gives a little more action because it's gonna swing a little bit more than either of the other two ways that I've already showed you. So that's another way you can rig it, or if you have a drop shot, you can rig it just like that as well, right through the nose. So there's one other thing I want to show you about the Texas rig that I do sometimes. When you fish that middle, sometimes it gets torn up, because what happens is, let me just show you this real quick. When it's in the middle like that, what happens is the fish dislodges the hook like that, then you yank or set the hook and it pulls into the fish's mouth. And so what happens when you do that over time is this middle part can get ripped up. And what happens is when that middle part is ripped up and the bait won't stay in place like I want it to, but this top part is good, I'll just leave it right there, and then I'll just skin hook the lure on the side. So instead of going through the middle, I'll just do something like this, if you can see it. Just bend it a little bit, and then let that hook slide right into that side skin. And it's still weedless. It'll still come through the grass, it'll still come around sticks. But now when that fish bites, it's gonna dislodge it even faster. You're gonna pull through and you're gonna probably hook up on more fish. I actually find that when I hook it like this, I have very few that actually get off. The only downside is if you throw it into some heavy grass and you pull hard, it is gonna come out and get hung up. But again, I don't do this that often. Usually because I'm frugal, it's a way that I am able to save baits. It's a way that I'm able to use the bait more times than it just ripping up on the first time. So those are a few ways that I actually like to use the Keitech Easy Shiner. Again, I think it's a great lure. What did I do with the... As you can see, there's only one left in this package, but it's a really great lure. It's a really effective lure. You can use it just about anywhere and you're gonna catch fish. I even call it a do-nothing bait because you can just throw it in the water and it'll catch fish for you. So let me just show you a couple of clips from today's trip, actually, where I used this Keitech as a Texas rig worm, if you will, in a Texas rigged way, weightless, and let you see the results of what happened. It's two small fish, but you'll see on one of them, I don't do anything at all, just throw it in the water and a fish runs off with it. So here we go. And this guy's going to town on this tree. That's a fish, guys. That's a bite. Thankfully, we got a bite at the same time. How about that? Not a big guy. Come on, buddy. On the Keitech. There we go. But first fish is on the Keitech weightless. Spicy. While we were watching a woodpecker. Doesn't get any better than that. Put him back in the water. But Adam did send me a text, so let me check the text that he sent me real quick. Whoa! Guys, I went down to... It's not a big guy, but it yanked my rod. I went down to check my phone. That thing started running. I hope I didn't hook him too deep. Whew. No, I didn't. Got him. It's number 2. Back to back. Got him right in his jaw. Well, a lot of times I'll say follow nature. Wherever you see nature being active, Usually a good place to get fish. Not big ones, but at least we got one. Whoa, let's get a picture of this guy too. And that's just how easy it can be done. You can check out some of my other videos. I'm sure at some point they'll be up here or around here somewhere where you can click on them. But if you just look at some of the videos, especially where I fish here in Hunting Run, you'll see a lot of the magic that has happened with this Keitech Easy Shiner. If you don't have one, I would really encourage you to get some. Get you some EWG hooks, get you some Ned Rig jig heads, and you should be able to do pretty well with them as well. So thank you so much for watching. As always, I really appreciate it. Feel free to leave a comment below if you have any questions. If you enjoyed the video, hit that thumbs up, and don't forget, if you want to see more content, there's a red subscribe button right below. That's gonna do it for today. Hope you have a good day and a good night. We will see you next time.